Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of SeptumSin versus the World. I'm SeptumSin, and we are here with another episode of animation, Anticlimax, where we talk about various animation pieces. This time, of course, this is my birthday, which I get to pick what I want. It's my party. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. Well, technically, it was my birthday not long ago, actually. So this actually works, delaying it, because it literally is only a couple days past. So with that being said, I had the choice to make, and I chose Galaxy Express 999, the movie. I was originally going to do the movie trilogy, but it looked like that was too big a hurdle for all of us to get through in time. So we are instead just doing the first film. But we may revisit this in the future, at least for the second film. The third film, well, it was a film. But I really do Galaxy Express 999. So I definitely, at least my own self, I will be returning to it. So with us right now, we have my co-host, Jake.
Hi.
Brittany from Danejurous Arts.
Hey.
And of course, we should have Dave a little bit later, and if we get lucky, Roger as well. But we gotta go on because I gotta work tomorrow. One fine thing, of course, just as a side note, a fun little note, the SeptumSin versus the World opener is very different depending on how you watch in the channel. The reason why I have this one on there instead of the other is actually because it's shorter. We actually made that one as a joke opener for the Amityville webcam movie. You should have seen some of the other stuff that we had. Like Jake is sitting there admiring the plants, but the ones he's admiring are the poison ivy. And
of course.
And of course, as always, I use the magical Jake uses the magical horn to summon me as we do pickup videos. Every time. All right, well, the reason why I decided to pick this one is it actually is a film that was done on my birth year, was released, but not here. And it is quite whimsical. It's about a young boy who wants to get a robot body to get revenge on the death of his mother. And so it ends up taking him on an adventure on the mysterious Galaxy Express, a train that will take you to the other side of the galaxy, where you too can get a free robot body. Dun, 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 dun. And with that being said, we're going to go around and see what people's experiences are. I know there's going to be different levels of knowledge and experience. Dave, are you back with us, or do you need more time? I will take that as needs more time. We will hit you at the end. All right. So, Jake, was this your first time with Galaxy Express 999?
Yes. This is something that I was at least vaguely familiar with. Like I had mostly know about Reputation. I definitely have never seen the show before. And it was good. I think as a movie, it does a pretty good job of telling the story in a way that doesn't feel too choppy. I'm sure someone who's seen the series would probably have a different take on it, but as someone coming to it new, it's a pretty good movie, and I enjoyed it. I was very, 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 very perturbed that for whatever reason, my disk drive, I have an external drive on my computer because stupid people don't put them in computers anymore. For some reason, my external drive would not play the Japanese track. I don't know why. I have no idea. So I was forced to watch it in English. and it's a good dub. You know, maybe one day I'll get a chance to watch it proper, but for a first introduction, it wasn't bad.
I actually chose to watch it in the English dub.
Isn't that nice? Oh yeah, that was another thing. I meant to watch it while I was cat sitting, and your PS5 wouldn't touch it. It would not read the disc. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, no, I'm not going to mess up his player. Yeah,
That sounds like it might be a manufacturer issue.
it might be. I don't know.
I've played it. It's worked in the past, but that's the original release, so it's getting old.
Yeah, this is an Eastern Star release. Yeah. Oh well.
So, let's see. Well, Brittany, was this your first time with Galaxy Express 999, the movie?
No. Viz's constant promotion of this film with every Rama tape I bought made me sit down and watch it. I cannot tell you how many times I saw that damn trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good film. For those who don't know, this is based off of the original series, which is Galaxy Express 399, which is part of the Star Blazers universe, which includes Captain Harlock. I believe there was a also a version of Esmeralda, I'm trying to remember her name off the top of my head, but the female pirate as well.
Right.
So I mean, it's a long-running and very beloved series in Japan. And I mean, to the point, this movie is great enough for them to do a stage play not too long ago. So some people like it. For me, it's okay, but I feel it's a little not preachy so much as overhanded at times. And I mean, it shows the age, in my opinion, because there's a lot of things that are like, we're gonna, be able to stop the situation by doing this. It's like, well, technically in the future we can't do that. We could do something else. And it's just weird looking at it nowadays.
All right. Dave, are you back with us?
I am now.
All right. So is this your first experience with Galaxy Express 999?
This is.
Nice.
I have not seen the series, nor have I seen the movies. And now I've heard of Captain Harlock, seen him for sale on, whatever, but just haven't gotten around to picking them up entirely. From what I understand, Japan actually does a lot, has a lot to do with trains. So, I mean,
there are trainophiles
yes.
in Japan, yes.
So,
There's a series of games dedicated to them that are pretty much only kept alive because of Japan.
even that very weird cat one with the Titanic innuendos.
Oh, I mean, there's a Pikachu train and a Hello Kitty train as well. I mean, they exist. Of course, there's one that you have to the reservations for. I think is all the way back right now to like 2029. So, yeah, it's beloved in Japan.
What was it? It was like Midnight on the Galaxy Railroad or something like that. It was the one about where the train was the euphemism for death, essentially.
Yeah, it's I believe it was Midnight on the Galaxy Railroad. I think you had it right. But that's a weird.
It is
film too.
It definitely is. But I enjoyed it. Is Captain Harlock always a small kid?
That's not gonna work.
Harlock's not a kid.
Harlock
Harlock was the one dude with the one eye
Yeah.
Okay.
and
Yep.
the skull and bones on the back of his jacket.
Gotcha.
The kid is there, which I find is interesting because according to what I was reading, he's 10 during this. So
Yeah, and the timeline's messed up. The timeline gets all wonky because the kid does play a role in several other series. But at some time, I mean, he basically replaces the guy we see die in this.
So
essentially,
you know what series? You know some of the history of the series. What came first? What was the first in this universe? Because it's all by the same.
Star Blazers came first, and then Captain Harlock, and then Galaxy Express.
Okay, so yeah, I know that the artist behind the series has had some hot takes over the years, but I won't go into that. The only thing I remember the most about this is that they referenced this in Lucky Star by having.
Well, I mean, you will see several anime spoof on Star Blazers because it's the penis ship. There's no other way to describe it. It literally is a penis flying in space.
Yeah. But I do think that I mean, and this particular series also is referenced a lot. I do feel like this is a series that is one of those pinnacle early series. Oh, I haven't heard from. Oh, well, haven't heard from you for a while, Mike McNally. Hello to you as well. I hope you and yours are doing well this fine summer.
All right.
So, I mean, yeah, this one to me is one of those foundational anime of the late 70s or mid 70s for most of them. And was one of those with Star Blazers. I didn't see it growing up, but a lot of kids saw that growing up here in America. So, very kind of.
It was an early 80s anime release in America, along with Gatchaman, which would be the sort of the origin of the Sentai forces, the bird people.
We've definitely managed to hit on some.
Well, yeah, we hit Voltron.
Of the basics. We haven't hit on Voltron yet. And we haven't hit. Did we do a Voltron thing?
Yes, we did Voltron.
Huh. Okay.
I watched Skyline.
All right. So we've hit Voltron. So the only ones we haven't hit are Gatchaman and because we've already hit a Lupin.
We have not hit Astro Boy. And I don't think we've hit
Astro Boy.
Gigantor either.
So we still have a couple of foundational ones left, but this is one of those foundational ones, or related to anyway. So essentially, my first exposure to this was I kept seeing probably some of the same advertising that Brittany did because I started my anime also on those VHSs. But there was something cool to me about a train that travels the cosmos. I feel like there's only really two ways you could take this concept. Either A, this is really cool, or B, this is really stupid. I took it as A. So I was glad to finally watch it, and it was a number of years later. It was probably in the 2000s when I finally watched the movie. I watched the second movie first. I watched To Do Galaxy Express first, and then I managed to get a hold of this one, and then I watched that. And I wasn't able to really get a hold of the series until late, and I still haven't gotten into the series because I didn't have enough time.
I think this was on Blockbuster shelves for me. That's how I got a hold of it.
But I really like something that kind of tells an episodic story in a way, and I felt like it was a good movie that you could even divide up into bite-sized bits and just kind of enjoy as you go. I like a good adventure, and this one felt like a good adventure overall. It is showing its age a bit, but considering that it's 46 years old, I will say that this movie has some age on it. But let's get started.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got our main kid who is kind of waiting at the train station. He's going to steal a ticket for the Galaxy Express and go on his way. But that his attempt kind of ends in failure. But he is saved by a mysterious woman called Maytel, which is right there in the background, and wakes up in her room as she has scanned his dreams and finds his motivation, which is avenging the death of his mother, who had hoped to get them both robot bodies, because in this world, essentially, if you can get to Andromeda, you can get free robot bodies and live forever.
Right.
Or so it's told.
Right.
Unfortunately, his mother was killed by a robot noble and stuffed like a trophy.
Count Mecha.
And so, for some reason, he seemed to want some sort of vengeance for that. I don't understand why. I mean,
I don't know.
These motivations, man. So Maytel tells him that, hey, I can get you on the Galaxy Express if you want. If that's what you truly want, I will go with, but you have to come with me. You got to accompany me there.
Come with me if you want to live.
He's like, sure, you're giving me what I want. Yes, I'll do it.
Well, explain why you would get on the Galaxy Express. Why would he want?
Well,
to be
that's
on
his
the
trip
Galaxy
to Andromeda.
Well, if any young kid saw a beautiful young lady in a shower, that would like.
That's the entire motivation. Yes.
No, the reason why you get on Galaxy Express is to get a robot body.
Yes. So not only can he go to Andromeda, but he can get to the stop where the Count is and count with him. Oh. But hopefully with his robot body, he can actually defeat the Count. Count Mecha.
Mm-hmm.
So what do y'all think of the setup here?
It's deservingly unnerving for the start of a film to see a character killed and used as a trophy.
Just like a Disney film.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like a Disney film, you kill the mother off.
Disney just wanted to scare you.
To quote Oda, mothers are the antithesis of adventure.
Apparently. It's just like Bambi's mom all over again, including the part where they stuck her in the trophy.
You gotta kill them off. You can't let moms live. Then they might stop you from having an adventure.
How about the rest of y'all? What are y'all's thoughts about Maytel and the whole setup?
Well, Maytel is an interesting character. She's tall. I feel like she feels bad for convincing him to take this journey, and I'm watching him not like look outside the window, and she told him, you know, you might regret looking outside the window, and he's like, I'll just see it when I'm older. And she's like, he doesn't realize that he's going to die. Right.
Well, more to the point, she as good as tells him this is probably going to be your last time to see her, or at least through these eyes. Like, she's like, if you become a robot, you will not see things the same way. And
like Count Mecha.
Yeah. And he's a kid. He's like, whatever.
I mean, that's one of the points, is that Count Mecha was human once, and then and a lot of his peculiarities like that didn't truly happen until after he gave up his humanity.
Right.
And suddenly humanity meant little to nothing to him.
Right.
So
she's
I do feel like several of the characters had a bit of a Shota complex.
a bit. Nah. This she comes across well as vaguely Shotokan. That one robot waitress later. I guess waitress is the correct.
Yeah.
She definitely did. But anyway, Maytel, you definitely know that she's hiding something. You definitely know there's something going on there. She's clearly doing a lot for this kid, and there's got to be something. But it does take a while before things really start to be revealed, you know?
A very mysterious figure.
Yes, very much.
I like the design of Maytel as well. Of course, they make it intentional for one reason, but I do like the design, the clothing. She just has that mysterious stranger look.
Well, she's a femme fatale, essentially.
Yeah. It is very much a notable, iconic look. Like, again, I knew this show solely by reputation, but she's the character that is like the face of the show.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, for good reason. But in terms of the overall design, and I guess we'll get to more of this when we get to production, I am not really a fan of the late 70s aesthetic for anime. And this, to me, seems pretty emblematic of what I've seen from that time period. It's a little different than some of the others, but
this is the high-end version of
generally speaking, this is not my favorite art style. But within the art style, she's a very memorable looking individual.
Yeah, it's Leiji Matsumoto is the creator, for those who don't know. He has this very artistic, especially with the eyes of characters, style.
Yeah. Well, shoot, I think that the style really gets, I guess a lot of it can be the inconsistency of the style at times, but we'll get to that more in, I guess, production. But yeah, I mean, and of course, anime was evolving into what's still, it's still evolving to this day, but I feel like, I mean, anime itself had just really become anime in the 1960s. So, and I think the manga of this was in the 70s, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, a lot of this is working on like developing an art style, which used to look just basically like Disney copies if you look before that. I've seen a couple of Japanese animations and stuff before that, and it definitely was a copy of Disney's art style.
Yeah.
Yeah, this ran from 1977 to 1981. 18 volumes of manga.
Well, look at Little Nemo, the original animation that was Japanese, and that
well, Little Nemo had Ghibli behind it.
Yeah.
So,
well, then we've got, so I'm going to just hit this and things. I'm going to tell you all, I'm going to go to each place, say what happened, then we can go back and discuss. So we're going to start with, I believe, Titan, which is the first stop on Saturn's moon. And it's kind of cool that they looked at the whole idea of terraforming it, especially when today Titan is still looked at as one of the potential places that could be terraformed or could have life on it.
Titan and Io are the two.
And I like how they even talked about how long it takes to go around and how a small stop is actually 16 days. Nice little layover there. 16-day layover.
That's shore leave.
Unfortunately, it's a little bit lawless there, as he notices somebody killed in the street. And Maytel is immediately abducted by bandits. So our main hero has to go in and rescue him, which after being knocked out, he's rescued by an old woman who tells him about her son, who also went off on an adventure and has not come back. She ends up giving him her son's hat, cloak, and gun, which turns out to be the one of the few weapons that can kill robot people.
Right.
No laser gun, actual gun.
Yeah.
He ends up managing to track down the bandits with luck and finding out that they're actually not that bad of people. They're actually much like they actually try to look after people much like him who have been orphaned by Count Mecha and are very suspicious of Maytel and even tell him not to trust her before they leave. Now, another character I had forgotten to introduce on the train was, of course, the conductor. We don't meet the waitress until the next step, but the conductor is, I like the design on the conductor. He kind of reminds me of a mixture. I mean, from my days at that time, it looks like he kind of has a design like Orko, except as a train conductor.
Would not be surprised if some artist that worked on this worked on He-Man, honestly.
I know there were a lot of Japanese artists involved in a lot of the 80s cartoons, Transformers, He-Man, etc.
It's the place to go. Like I said, it's the place to go for animation in the 80s, 70s and 80s. Once we get to the 90s, we started going to Korea, but yeah, pretty much.
But what are y'all's thoughts on the whole Titan affair?
I mean, it's good setup.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, I feel this is one of the areas where it's just kind of like it feels rushed a little bit.
Well, the kid is definitely not a skilled warrior by any means. He gets his butt handed to him throughout the series, including here.
Well, I mean, we're introduced to Harlock here as well. When he gets the gun, he goes back, gets beaten up by some guys in a bar when he asks for milk. And Harlock comes in, and you talk about iconic figures. Harlock, I think, is a little bit more than Maytel.
And Harlock actually also orders milk at the bar.
Yeah.
Well, Harlock also, I think we already said, has his own series. He is definitely well known by name.
And look, he's got a very authentic look.
That's also the same one that did Battleship Yamato, or was that different?
Battleship Yamato is Star Blazers. It's just in the US, it's called Star Blazers.
Okay.
See, yeah, this one wasn't poisoned. My recollection was not poisoned by the American version like so many others. Unfortunately, Robotech and Voltron were poisoned by my American viewing of it. But hey,
we should definitely cover Robotech at some point. The poisoning of that from Macross.
Nobody's heard of Robotech.
No.
What are you talking about? But I thought it was a pretty good way of putting in information about the upcoming character. I mean, we're talking about fitting. Is this like what, the first season of the series?
Pretty much, yeah. I would assume this is the first season. I haven't really gotten to watching all of it, so I don't know. We're talking a seasonal anime being condensed into a single movie.
It's on my list.
Yeah, it's not an original story from the movie, which is what we mainly get these days. It's a full-on retelling of a story. Occasionally you still get that nowadays, but it's not it's a little bit more condensed in a way that it makes sense.
I think this one hits okay if you've not seen any of the original or read it. Like, at least for me, it did. I agree with you.
I think the impact probably would be better in a longer series. I do think that.
Well, I'll be watching the longer series eventually, so once I get to it, I'll be able to speak to it. But let's see. Anything else on Titan? I do find it interesting when they are talking about Maytel, and like I said, the main guy tells him not to trust Maytel.
Right.
He tells not to trust anybody, but yeah, do not trust Mattel.
So, and that's something worth remembering for later.
That's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
worth remembering in general.
As they go to Pluto next, and I want to say on Pluto they also introduce the dining car,
I
which,
love how Pluto is a planet to them.
which
Well-
has another Shotokan character.
Oh, it was still considered a planet at the time.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Pluto was a planet in '79, so yeah, it was considered.
It was recently discovered, but it was a planet.
Yeah. And of course, they apparently use it as a massive graveyard on account of how cold it is.
Makes sense.
It
I actually like the concept of having a mass graveyard of people who have exchanged their bodies for the machine bodies,
right.
and that if you can get enough money, you can get your old body back.
Right.
Which, we meet two characters.
So essentially, this is the, I guess, the anime version of the long-running claim about Walt Disney being in cryogenesis.
Well, you get to actually introduce into this that people don't all love being in the robot bodies,
Right.
and that there is sometimes regret. The saddest one I thought was the character who kind of guards the graveyard or sits in the graveyard.
Yeah.
In a way, it sounds like it's her station, but at the same time, it's more of she just wants to be close to her old body and almost tries to keep the main character there because he's warm and reminds her of having a body herself.
Right.
Almost ghoulish, really, for her.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have our glass robot, our crystal robot,
Mhm.
who was doing the waitressing so she could earn up enough money to get her old body back.
Mhm.
Who also makes the same comment in her own Shotokan way.
Mhm.
Whereas Maytel, you could kind of put it into more of a mother-child look if you really want to put an innocent spin in it, even though it doesn't kind of skew kind of with him being 10. With her, it's harder to spin it that way. It looks almost creepy in that way.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Claire is hot for him. There's no doubt.
It
Give a
was
little
not
boy.
as it wasn't looked at down on as much. I think at that time, but I mean, it's always been an issue.
Hey, give a little boy a gun and he's suddenly cool. All the ladies want to join in.
Absolutely.
Now,
Mhm.
in fairness, and I know that this may be a controversial statement, but if you can trust a kid with a gun, you could probably trust him with a lot of other things.
Hey, he's a scrappy orphan.
Hey now, a gun is point and click. It's easy for a child to use.
You know,
I'm
Yeah,
not saying responsibly, but it's easy for a child.
that's what I'm saying. The responsibility to use a gun is different from the actual ability to use a gun.
you know, Brittany, you need to include Scrappy Orphan as one of the subclasses in your Green Lightning game.
I probably, if I had the time to work on it, yeah, I probably would include a scrappy orphan.
Is that the class? Is that the class Ankle Biter should have been in?
Should have been, yes.
Yeah, he would have been a good Scrappy Orphan. With a barrel fetish, apparently.
Hey, you gave yourself that fetish.
Yeah.
Hey, he was a character with terrible stats and lived longer than most other characters because he was a coward.
Yeah.
Cowardice helps. I mean, I'm proving it in my own game that I'm playing right now. So,
in this one, it does have that point, and I do think it is interesting, and there is a solemn nature to it. it really does have a story it's telling about people kind of giving up their souls for these robot bodies, for this whole concept of, do you really want to live forever? What is the value of life when life goes on eternally?
Or more,
And
can you call it life
yeah,
if you're,
and there are a lot of people who in this would say, no, it's no life to be worth living. Whereas there's others that just go into weird sadistic murder sprees in order to sate their boredom, like Mecca.
Yeah.
So they go from there to actually.
I do wonder if he adopted the name Count Mecca, because if he was actually named Mecca, then it's almost like you're dooming him from the start.
That's an awkward name.
I
to be
mean,
born
it's
with.
typical for anime to doom them from the start
Right.
and that way, and be like, "Oh no, that's my given name." It's like,
Well, considering where he's actually,
But your parents hated you.
I mean, if you think about the world that he's actually from,
Right.
because he's from Andromeda,
Yeah.
it would make sense to name the child that.
Yeah.
Hey, Jacob, my last job, I saw someone who actually named their child Loves, and their last name was Cox.
Okay, that's unfortunate.
I feel sorry for that child when they get to school.
That's okay. I had a TV teacher that his last name was Bates, and we had to call him Master.
Yeah. I've seen some awkward ones, definitely.
I mean, my best friend in high school used to rename Tella and Final Fantasy IV into Bates because they always used to call him Master throughout the whole. It's like, don't call him Bates, call him Master Bates. I don't think, oh God, really. He did
This
that.
is the humor we're resorting to, folks.
Yeah, this is the highbrow humor you get from animation Anticlimax.
Yeah.
We are a highbrow group after all.
Yes, quite.
So we go from there to the crossroads. We have the whole thing with them eating in the dining car with the maid and all that, but they go to the crossroads essentially, and they find out that Count Mecha is actually going to be there in his time castle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's great having a time castle, you just go all over the place. As you do.
They finally get that info from Emeraldus, yes?
Yeah, they get that from Emeraldus, which, of course, she's just passing by, and then he decides, I need to get her attention, so he shoots. He takes a eye shot at her ship.
Right. What'd you get?
Does he just open the window?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, in space. Let's just open a window in space.
Right. And this again, to my point of, do we really think entrusting a firearm to a 10-year-old is a good idea? And
I'm more worried about operating windows than the 10-year-old in space.
Open up a window in space to fire a gun on a pirate ship unsolicited.
In all fairness, it did work.
It did work, but he's lucky it worked.
And when she was probably going to have him not like that result so much, but she recognized the gun and the cloak, and
which weirds me out. I mean, it's you shoot at someone or in a spacecraft. Somehow she's able to tell the gun is her former friends.
Well, it did have an insignia on the side when she looked at it
from the spacecraft.
But she actually, by doing that, apparently the previous owner was actually her former lover, and she wanted to know where he was, and he was like, I don't know, but we did get the information as to where the Count's castle was going to be next. And it was kind of cool because you got to meet some of the cooler characters from that universe well within a nice 30-minute span.
Yeah.
And he got there with the hopes of taking out the count. And this was where actually I think this is where we had the whole milk thing, because I swear this was something that he got, because he got taken down by the gang of people and he had to come back to try and get his gun.
That was on Titan, though. That was absolutely on Titan.
Well, either case, he runs into another gang of mecha people who served him, who also beat him up and take his gun.
Mm-hmm.
He does find his way to a individual who is who they say knows where it is, knows where the castle is going to be, and this happens to be that very individual that he has the gun from.
Yeah.
And he tells him the information.
Toshiro, right? Am I remembering that right?
The kid from the gun, or the guy with the gun.
Yeah.
He's the one that had it.
Yeah.
This was the basically he does this in exchange with becoming one with the ship, and so he can sail the stars with Captain Harlock again, who is summoned there and does play a part. And Emeraldus actually shows up, even though she is more of a free spirit herself, because she does not. She says he cannot be killed here, meaning the younger kid. And also because she was, she found a lead as to, her. And, they end up sneaking on board the time castle when it does appear.
Right.
And one of the things that he was told back on Titan was, you find Count Mecha, you don't hesitate. You don't listen to him. If he pleads, don't do that. Just kill him.
Right.
And he proceeds to not do.
Well, I mean, did you really think he was going to listen to that advice?
I mean, it made more sense. I mean, dude, you hate this person's guts. He killed your mother, made her a freaking trophy.
Which, when he comes face to face with that, that's going to give him nightmares.
But he comes face to face with the fact that they stuffed his mother and put her above the mantle.
Yeah.
And it's because of help from his friends that he has met along the way that he is able to actually defeat Count Mecha, and a betrayal by his psychic.
The bandit leader shows up to help, and he had said before that he had a bunch of shrapnel basically trapped in various parts of his body, some of which was unexploded. So he basically uses himself as a meat shield to blow up the what do I want to say? Like Mecha had retreated behind.
Yeah, like a force shield.
Yeah. And so this guy basically turns himself into a living bomb to help the kid out.
Not a very good force field if it can't take an explosion.
Nope.
I don't know why. I thought you said living bong.
Maybe. Yeah.
That was why the shield really got lowered. They got high, and it was like, hey, yeah, man.
There we go. He got high enough to go right over. And then he had a mechanized individual with him who ended up assisting the kid eventually too.
She was ready to end things herself,
right?
And you get to see her playing the instrument at the bar at the beginning of that scene where he goes.
Which actually, I think, the bar was here. I'm sure of it.
I'm pretty sure it was on Titan.
See, because she was here, and I don't know. It's I
Maybe
guess
there were two bars with identical circumstances.
maybe. I know. Well, no, I don't think they were, but I don't. But yeah, she was definitely at the bar. Anyway.
But yeah, that one I thought was a pretty cool way to do it. I mean, the whole time capsule ends up rusting because the whole time mechanism goes haywire and just starts throwing everything that's in the castle, except for apparently the living creatures, ahead in time to the point where they end up rusting to nothing.
It was very much a load-bearing boss.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 70s. They tended to have those all the way up until about the 90s. I think they finally realized killing the boss doesn't guarantee an explosion of the location.
Right.
I mean, hell, we had it in Star Wars, for crying out loud. The Emperor falls down into the reactor, and then they blow the damn thing up.
Right.
Any other thoughts about this Crossroads? How about you, Dave? Anything that you thought about this part? It was a pretty good sized part because he does go in and he gets his revenge against Count Mecha.
I thought the castle was pretty cool looking. Even though I know they blew it up, but as far as going getting his revenge on the Count, I thought it was pretty decent for it for the time that this came out. You know, so I mean, I've seen Castle Cagliostro, so I feel like there are some echoes of some battles from there here.
And it's a reoccurring plot in most things these days. Days, and it didn't. One movie didn't have a lock on it than another. It pretty much. I think if I watch this as a series, and I think this is where I think would be a weakness if I was watching it as a series and we were watching it as a series. You have this, and then the movie's not over. You still got like a large chunk to go. And I would have been like, where, all right, you killed the main bad guy. Where's this going?
Well, the kid, I keep calling him the kid, Deathrow. Deathrow comes to the idea at the end of this. He's like, I need to go and destroy the people that turn people into robots. Like he realizes that he got his revenge, but now he's got a new mission, basically.
That concept that basically this whole robot thing brings everybody sorrow.
Right.
Though, to tell you the truth, he only has a few actors to base that assumption on.
Right.
Now, they are bad actors. Several of them are bad actors. A couple of them are crazy.
Right.
Hence the girl in the graveyard, for instance.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are a lot of people who are just like, yeah, I'm just kind of enjoying my life as a robot. Yep, good. Not harming anybody. Doing a good job.
Well, we don't get to see that because that's the boring side. You know, the probably billions considering the, fact that all their bodies are on Pluto. So, I mean, we got, billions of people that are robots that all of a sudden are like, well, crap, what do you mean I can't get any more service?
I feel like killing the bad guy off early is almost like similar to premature ejaculation.
Well, if you look at it like a RPG, this was the boss you thought was the last boss, but there's actually a secret boss behind that boss.
And that boss is God.
The princess is in another castle.
Well, that was a classic Super Mario thing. Every single level.
Except this time, the princess isn't in a castle. She's right there.
Well, yeah, she's on the train. But you find that out once you get to Andromeda.
Or one might say it's the example of Count Mecha was really just the mid boss. He is.
Yeah, he's very mid boss.
He's the mid boss.
Well, when they get to Andromeda, of course, this is a mechanized planet, and they're greeted by the soldiers, and they find out that Maytel is actually the princess because the planet is called Planet Maytel.
Yeah.
And
the kid does notice that that's a bit of a red flag when they announce the stop. That we're at Planet Maytel. He's like, huh?
Well, he did. He neglected to do the other thing that he was warned about, which was don't trust Maytel.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I mean, you have a planet named after you. I'm kind of surprised Maytel doesn't have a big ego.
Well, you find out, of course, that she has been hunting down people who would make good robot parts for the robotic planet, like cogs and flywheels and stuff like that. And our main character is to be turned into one of these because he's got a very strong personality and will make a very sturdy piece of machinery to run the planet. Now, that's kind of screwy, in my opinion. That's messed up right there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But you need, I mean, we had a villain who literally we saw execute a woman at the start of the movie, and he's dead. So now we need to really impact the next villain.
Right.
And you find out that Mecha was one of the nobility from this planet. Now, I also find, you know what I find interesting about it is something similar, is the castle that was made with living people that were turned into blocks in Unico.
Yeah.
That, by the way, that did creep me out as a child.
It creeped me out as a child too, and the fact that that they integrated the Pied Piper into it, just how eerie the music was along with it, you know.
Only as a child, for crying out loud, when we watched it, I was creeped out by it then.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It creeped me out as an adult.
Well, I as an adult, I was used to it. I was desensitized by it already. So
Anybody who can deal with Sallow and be like, it's just, you know.
that's how I was. Although the shit eating part that kind of bugs me still. So
well, so you know, at that point, to me, once you've gotten to that point, there's nothing really that can bother you from there.
Right.
It's just kind of all minor stuff after that. But yeah, to me as a kid though, that really did creep me out. And in a way, that kind of gives me those vibes of like all those people. And her mother is a very classic 70s anime design, but a creepy one at that.
I mean, we always joke about it, but I mean, 80s and 90s children's films were designed to scare the crap out of kids.
Yep. They were trying to they didn't even have to use subliminal messaging.
No.
You know, all they had to do was just go there, and it's like the big to me when I was a kid, the beginning of that Russian Japanese one with Christopher Lee being the clock.
Yeah, Nutcracker Fantasy.
Yeah, the Nutcracker Fantasy. The way that they told the story of the boogeyman in the very beginning of that thing creeped me out when I was a kid.
I'm still traumatized by Atreyu. Atreyu and Never-Ending Story. I mean, for God's sake, I mean that you watch a horse die.
Oh yeah.
We were of the generation where we played with toys that were based off of horror movie franchises.
Even in a fun movie like Homer Bound, where a dog falls into the thing, I cry every time.
Old
You know?
Yeller. Old
Where the red
Yeller.
fern grows. I mean, there's the trifecta of dogs dying right there.
Well, so what I want to do is I want to see an Old Yeller Pet Cemetery crossover.
Does he come back with the rabies?
Sometimes dead is better.
Yeah.
As long as the Galaxy Express.
That was probably the best old man. And what was it? The guy who played Herman Monster?
Yes, it was him.
Yeah.
I could have seen Dick Van Dyke also doing that character, but who turned 100 this year?
Yeah.
It's still alive. It's still kicking.
And next year, Mel Brooks joins him. And he's going to be making another film.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about swan songs. I guess we can do them at 100 too. So at the end, you realize that Maytel is not trying to bring all these people to die. She's working with her father to bring down the kingdom, and she's been recruiting willing rebels, essentially, to work as the cogs, literal cogs in the system, so that when the time was right, that they all work together to destroy the planet and take down her mother's evil ambitions.
Right.
And at the same time, Harlock and Emeralda both feel like we got to come to the aid of this guy and help. With Emeralda, it was like, I can't let this person who has the attachment to my love die. And Harlock is more of a, I want to help out a companion type deal, which I'm guessing he must join Harlock eventually. It just feels like it.
I mean, I'm kind of torn because I don't know if Harlock ended before this was out, because I do know Harlock came before this.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Harlock ended before then. If that's the case, then no.
I know the guy with the gun was in Harlock. The original guy with the gun was there.
Yeah.
Because I remember him, because I've seen Harlock. I actually thought Harlock was boring. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it's all of this is 70s anime based off of 70s manga. It's dated, and the technique is dated. It's notable, for the story in a sense, but it does kind of make it not fully interesting and invigorating. I think this probably lasted more than Star Blazers or Space Ship Yamamoto did, and the mindset of Japan, because they still do stuff with Galaxy Express now.
They still had some very creepy stuff with this, because you realize that the reason why Maytel reminds our main character of his mother is actually purposeful. That she actually took a body that resembled his mother on purpose to gain his trust.
I mean, that's some sickness.
And of course, she's kind of teetering on the edge about it because she doesn't want to lose her father, and she still has that loyalty to her mother. But our main character manages to take the decision from it and manages to blow the thing up.
Yeah.
And I believe, and of course, at the very end of it, to get on the train, our glass girl does sacrifice herself to save them. Which he's left with like one piece of it. They end up having to throw the pieces off of the ship, except for one piece where the boy keeps it.
Yeah, they say it's like her tear, right?
Yeah.
Can you still hear me, by the way?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. My camera apparently stopped working. We'll just get that.
Yep. And pretty much after that, they go back to Earth. Maytel is going back to Pluto to get her original body. And, and of course, our main character is just going to make his way in the world. And which makes sense. I mean, at 10, you've got pretty much all of your life ahead of you at that point.
Right.
And if you already kind of participated in the destruction of an entire civilization, I mean, what else, can you do to top that?
Yeah, well, he's
Kinda
just getting started.
I don't know. I mean, I know Astro Boy started sort of the age of the ironic age of a child becomes 10 and they move on. I think it's either this or Astro Boy. I don't remember the age Astro Boy was supposed to be. But I mean, it's weird that it keeps happening. I mean, you have Pokemon. Ash leaves at 10. You have a lot of the sort of young adventurers out there. They start at age 10.
That was Negi's age, wasn't it?
I believe so. I
Negi's
mean, it was Gon's age when he left for Hunter x Hunter exam.
Right.
It's kind of interesting when you got those. I mean, I'm guessing Goku was actually no. Goku was older than that. I think he was 13 or something.
No,
no, he was younger.
Goku was younger.
Yeah,
Goku was like 6.
But
he was older than that because I remember that like just a couple seasons later, he was like, "Yeah, I'm 13," and they look at him like, "You don't look like 13."
Yeah, he might be 10 in the first one, but Goku's weird because he's a couple years behind. Like he has the mental development of someone who's probably more like 8 at best.
To be fair, Goku never has a mental increase.
Yeah, in reality, Goku had like a weird growth spurt. It was basically going from kid Goku to adult Goku. You really didn't have much of an in between.
I honestly stand by DBZ Abridged got Goku's mindset right, where he's a total flipping moron.
Well, he's not bright. He's not bright.
At some point, naivety it doesn't cover everything.
Right.
It's like Goku's pretty good at battle strategy, and that's about it.
Oh, not even that. The dude literally gave a Senzu bean to Cell to make him more powerful before he gave him to fight his child.
Right.
Well, I didn't say Goku was a good father.
That absolutely shows how much of an idiot he is, even in battle mindset, in my opinion.
Well, I'm talking like in the moment tactics. Like that sounds like more of a general decision outside of like his decisions to challenge anyone and everyone and never back down is a little different than what you do once you're actually in the match.
It's one of the things that gets lost in the dub, honestly.
Yeah.
That a lot of people don't understand that Goku has one set mindset, and that is to fight somebody. And that's it.
Right.
Even on into adulthood and old man age.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They're still doing it in Supers, and Toriyama's not alive to do it.
Did you say something about my mama? Let me go kick your ass.
I don't think Goku knew his mom.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he didn't even know his mom. Yeah, we're pretty sure he doesn't know.
No, but if somebody said something about his mother, he'd still fight him.
Because his dad Supermaned him.
Yeah.
Actually,
they put him in a pod and sent him off into space.
Right.
Actually, with Goku, it wouldn't really matter. He's the only thing that was his redeeming feature is that he's actually not like full on evil like the rest of his race.
Oh, okay.
And that's all thanks to a head smack.
So it's
It's
the red.
all thanks to brain damage.
Yes.
Right.
It's the red planet and envy. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's where Goku lost a lot of it. He's actually working with traumatic brain injury.
I mean, they literally showed it. They showed he was an angry, violent child when he met his grandfather Gohan.
Yeah.
And then he falls, hits his head, and that's when he stopped being angry.
Good times.
Well, I guess the funny thing is, this is a much older series than that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. I think Dragon Ball started in 1983.
Was it
Okay, but not by that much. But yeah, but still by like what, 5-6 years. So yeah,
Possibly. I want to double check. I'm going to double check.
Yeah, I thought it was slightly later, but it's close.
Because Toriyama had to kind of moonlight in order to do that one.
1984. I was off by a year.
Because
Okay.
he was doing Dr. Slump at the original time, and they were like, "You
Right.
can't do better than Dr. Slump." He was like, "Well, hold my beer."
But yeah, I mean, going back into the movie, we pretty much at the end, right?
Yeah, he comes back and they leave. And May tells like, "You probably won't ever see me again because if I come back, you won't recognize me." He's like, "I don't know who you are." Actually, come to think of it, the next time we see May tell, she's still in the same body.
Right.
She never leaves the body. She's in the same body in all 3 films.
Right. Which I was a little puzzled by that comment. I'm like, I've seen the artwork from the other movies.
I've seen the other movies and the OVA, and she don't change bodies.
Right.
But hey, as far as a one-off though, if we just leave it at this and just forget about the rest of it, it's a nice bittersweet ending. So I kind of like that in a way.
Right.
I mean, it's a film that teaches you about the inevitability of death and the meaning of life.
Yes.
Right.
That whole concept of life has meaning only because it is as brief as it is.
And I guess be careful who you trust as well.
Right.
That too. Yes, definitely careful who you trust.
And also, the laws of physics do not apply to the Galaxy Express 39.
100% agree. Yes.
And kids, if you talk to strangers, you'll go on a mystical adventure across space and time.
I mean, it's a train that runs on no train tracks.
Right. Well, they do have tracks on and off the planets. But
I like the concept of the trains, and I think the mystical train thing is just something that's been fascinating to the Japanese culture for a while. Yeah. Because you've had tons of examples of magical trains or trains to different dimensions or just trains in general. I mean, shoot, you can suplex a train in Final Fantasy VI.
And I believe that at one point, if I remember correctly, I think the kid asks about the appearance of it. Tetsuro asks, and she's like, "Oh, well, the designers wanted sort of a retro look or something to that effect." Like they gave
it the retro look. Now, I wanted to note the name of Tetsuo. Having a comic of a character named Tetsu, I knew that part is iron.
Right.
The O means husband.
Okay. Well, there were some experimental films done back in the I believe the late 70s that were called the Tetsuo trilogy.
Right.
Yeah.
That I wonder if
Iron Man. Yeah.
Well,
if there is a connection.
To continue your thought there, Brittany, I guess I don't know. I know Hoshino means star, or pretty much Hoshi, I think, is star. So yeah, you basically
it's unusual. Tetsu is a very common name used in a lot of Japanese anime and whatnot. And how you say it, with an O or whatever, however you want to spell it. Because I know in Hunter x Hunter, or I mean, not Hunter, My Hero Academia, you have Tetsu,
right?
Supposed to be iron.
Right.
You have Akira Tetsuo again.
Yeah.
And I can say my own character, I've named him Iron Peace, but it also translates to diplomat, essentially, a peaceful diplomat.
Right.
So, I mean, Japan loves to do weird namings, and that's when you really study it and whatnot. Those names, but Maytel is a French name, so I can't really put behind the meaning behind Maytel's name.
Right.
Well, we don't have a lot of Maytels in anime, so that actually makes sense.
Right.
So, other than that, any other comments on the story before we move on?
Nope. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Nope, not that I know of.
No.
Well, let's talk production. I mean, I mean, for 1979. I mean, if we go by, like, if we're talking like, oh yeah, look at all we can do with the modern equipment. Why would they do this with all that modern equipment? They didn't have that modern equipment back then.
Oh no, this is one of those films. This and Akira, to me, and a little bit of Ghost in the Shell because they didn't have digital either for then. Those films are pretty much to me the nightmare of animators. Because when you go weird and warping things, in this case, you're going weird and putting things in unique locations and yet trying to express, the concept of movement in space, which, spoilers, folks, if you were in space and watching a ship fly by, it's going to be very slow.
Matter of fact, it's interesting that you see smoke rising from the train chimney like that.
Yeah, well, there's no air in space.
Yes, there is. You can open the window and just
now, mind you, the bullet, shooting the gun and shooting the bullet, that bullet would not stop until it hit something.
But it was also the super gun anyway, so Yeah. But this I actually thought if you look at it from when it was, I mean, does it hold up to today with all the modern techniques and shortcuts and things like that? If this was made today, would it look like this? No, it would probably look much better. But for 1979, I thought this actually came across pretty well. I've seen other
I will argue with you on the better because I guarantee you the train will be CGI.
Well, I guess it depends on how much money they put in the CGI.
They're still struggling on that CGI. There's like 2 studios that can do it well.
Because I've seen 2 examples of anime done with CGI. I have seen the type that was Lupin the Third's CGI movie, which looked amazing, and I've seen the Ghibli CGI movie, which looked
like dog crap,
horrible. So I mean, I guess it really just depends.
There's a reason Ghibli immediately went back to traditional animation after Earwig. Oh God. But no, in my opinion, if you want, there are 2 studios in Japan. The one that did the recent Trigun series, and the one that did the Gem series. I'm forgetting the name of it off the top of my head, where people were gems. But I mean, those are the good CGI. Every other decent CGI is all taken up by the video game industry.
Just have it done by the people who did the Berserk animated series.
Oh God, no! Good night, no! Oh my God!
Another example of how not to do CGI in anime.
A freaking animation from the late '80s, early '90s beats out a CGI remake in 2010s.
So, but what I guess I was saying is that, I mean, comparing this to other contemporaries of the late 70s, early 80s, this actually doesn't look bad animation wise.
No, you're not quite at the point where the film animation reached the peak in the late 80s to 90s, where we got Akira and Ghost in the Shell.
No, peak animation from 79, a good example of one that probably tops it would be Castle Cagliostro, which was
Darren, I don't have to debate that. Castle Cagliostro beats it hands down.
But that's probably one of the best animated of the time.
Well, I mean it was directed by Miyazaki, so
that's some of the best that you could do. But this one actually still was pretty well done. I thought that it showed the imagery well. The characters were inconsistent, but I think that if you compare it to the manga, actually the inconsistency just carries over. That's more the mangaka's style than it is the.
Yeah, I mean there's a member of Clamp that draws this style too, because you see a lot of it, the same style in the X series.
Yeah,
they do, and also in the Holic series.
X, by the way, is a series that is also screwy.
It's a horrible series. If we watched that anime, my God, I'd be apologizing to everybody.
Actually, that's another one you're probably better off watching the movie for, because X 1999 is the same thing, but it's blessedly shorter.
I will say the only thing that makes it worse, in my opinion, is Aya's Sidekick is always going to be my worst location for an anime production ever.
Oh, well, you see, that's one that I still think they knew it was bad when they did it. So,
Yeah. How that even got a dub? Well, I know how it got a dub, but
this one actually came out in theaters. So, and Aya's Sidekick did not come out in theaters, to my knowledge. I don't know.
No, it would have been immediately shut down, because I don't think anybody would buy a ticket to that series.
I mean, the series was short enough that you could have marketed it as a movie.
I think it's only 2 or 3 episodes long, so
very short.
Sometimes you get great 2 or 3 episode shows, but
yeah,
that one was nuts. That one was nuts. Yeah, Princess Rain would be a good one, and of course we watched Shinesman already as a pretty good one.
Dragon Half was not adapted right, but it did have a fun ender.
Dragon Half followed the manga pretty solidly, though.
But the manga Dragon Half, I wish they had continued that one. That manga was hilarious. But
you're not alone. A lot of people wanted to continue that one.
And the ending theme song is worth having Dragon Half, the animated series as well, because I mean it's egg song.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you think as far as, because I mean you're our animation expert on this panel, comparatively from 1979 standards, how would you say?
The things I have to compare it to in 1979, this is what I always try to run to, would be stuff like maybe the start of Macross, or maybe Gatchaman, because those are all running at the same time. And the series has a very similar look to Gatchaman, although Gatchaman would be a TV. I have to compare it as a TV series because I don't know if they had a movie. If they did, I never saw it. It's very standard of the time. I mean, just looking at the image we have here, while the detail is there, you see a lot of inking that's black. Maytel is still very, straight one color with her hair. There's not much detail and shadow. Because it would be a lot harder to do it when you're painting in a cell. I can tell you, painting a cell is a nightmare. You have to do every paint thing in reverse. So if you want to do a detail, you do the details first.
The train is reasonably detailed.
The train, well, I mean, it's inking though, mostly inking. You have 4 colors on the train. You have white, you have yellow, you have red, and then you have gray. Well, 2 shades of gray. One for the dark side and one for the light side, and then just the inking line work. That's
better than 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Everything's better than 50 Shades of Grey.
Hey, you forget the shades of gray on the smoke going out into space.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, the what's more impressive in this film is the sort of locations. The background artists don't get enough respect. And I actually will call out another channel on YouTube. Emily and Didas, they have a show called Spilled Ink, and this last episode they were watching and getting lessons about matte painting and background painting from one of the Ghibli artists, and it goes to show how impressive these people work, because
Right.
they're doing like one of these to three of these a day.
Well, the backgrounds in Ghibli productions are no joke, but yeah, it's it is more than people think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I say, I mean, the highest grade thing to look at, actually, 79 in theaters. Casa Cagliostro. There was this. What else animated was in theaters at that time frame?
I mean, I don't want to compare this to Cagliostro, because it's kind of like, hey, you have one of the greatest animation directors of all time behind it.
Right.
But it was his early work. It was actually, I think, his earliest.
It is one of his earliest works, but it's one of the only works that Spielberg himself goes, this is a wonderful masterpiece.
Right.
So I mean, it's
Well, The Secret of Nim was 82.
yeah, and that
what-
would have been gosh, what is the name? Doug
Don Bluth.
or
Don
Don Bluth. That would have been
Yeah.
that's a Bluth.
Don
creation.
Bluth is, I mean, to me, I always consider Don Bluth's style and that animation style as really high quality.
Well, Bluth was traditionally a Disney animator, and then became himself an amazing animator on his own.
Right.
He's still, I don't know if, has he released
Oh,
the Dragon Quest movie? Oh, no, he hasn't. He's still working on that, isn't he?
so I'm trying to figure. Oh, actually, wait. I think I have it. I gotta remember. I was trying to think what Disney would have had. The Rescuers was 77. The Fox and the Hound was 81. Was there one that came between them?
Maybe, I don't recall.
Yeah.
Jack Frost came out in 1979.
Yeah.
Well, that's puppetry. That's Rankin Bass.
Oh, and wasn't 79 the year of the Star Wars special that had that Boba Fett animation in it?
Yeah, that was its own thing.
Yeah, well, the Boba Fett, I don't remember who did the Boba Fett animation.
Oh, they did have the All-Star Cartoon Review that year.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of a Ghibli related, Animal Treasure Island also released on that year.
Okay.
Which I will put this one above Animal Treasure Island. The Diary of Anne Frank. There's something interesting to be animated.
I'm trying to see it. Okay, Raggedy Ann and Andy movie, which is highly praised from that year.
That one also had some. That was very Don Bluth-esque animation wise.
Oh, the Lord of the Rings, the only animated part of Lord of the Rings, because they never got to the budget to do the other half.
How about the Halloween tree?
Future Boy Conan. Actually, wasn't Miyazaki also involved in Future Boy Conan? I can't remember.
I don't know. And I'd have to go way back on that. How Bugs Bunny Won the West came out that year.
Yeah, there you go.
What a Nightmare Charlie Brown came out that year.
I will hold the animation in this way above any of the Charlie Brown films.
Yeah.
Hey, they had to get that movie out fast, or the Christmas movie. I can't say for the other stuff.
Let's see here. And they had another Lupin movie out that year, Lupin the Thief, Enigma of the 813.
Yeah.
Which may not have been as nicely animated as probably wasn't as nicely animated as Cagliostro.
Cagliostro is the sort of, when you look at the Lupin films, it's very much an outlier.
So, point being, this was a good one for its time, but not top tier.
I'd say it was at least standard for its time. I mean, Taro the Dragon Boy actually is one I would say would be about on par with it animation-wise.
Now, if you wanted to say, hey, what if they made it this day? Well, they made a live action recently in Japan.
Oh, and Urusei Yatsura started in 81, so this was just before that.
What if Studio Ghibli remade Galaxy Express at this day?
It would be pretty. It would be very pretty.
I don't know where. Well, see, the problem is with Ghibli, while they cover a lot of things, usually their overall plot is about war. And
they can do that with the series, though. I mean,
yeah, they can do it with the series. They couldn't really do it with this movie because it's more about a movie about death.
Well, he's definitely handled that.
And Clamp, and actually, when you were mentioning Clamp, I never thought about it, but Clamp must have definitely been influenced by this person's style.
Yeah, I have no doubt that Clamp got influenced by Majimoto in this case. So, yeah.
Well, to move this forward, I would like to also say the music was on point. Not to the point where I would buy it necessarily, but I thought that the music was really good. I thought that the track they played at the end was really good. I just thought in general it was there, but it also was music of its time.
Right. music by Nozomi Aoki, I suppose. And now one thing that puzzled me. Okay, I don't know, were there different songs in the English version, or was it?
They had a few. It's hard to tell, honestly, when there was some Americanized music put in. I don't remember if it was Viz doing it or if it was the original, because there's some anime out there that will have American music in it,
right?
I've recently been watching all of Black Butler,
right,
and the first ending of Black Butler is by Rebecca, the singer Rebecca here in the United States.
Well, we were just talking about Ghibli, and Whisper of the Heart prominently features Country Roads, so that's
over and over again.
Yeah, but the reason
they do their own version though for Country Roads. They change the lyrics.
They do, but I think the movie started with
it does start with the traditional one that was written. Well, they start with the one that was written by Dick.
Was one, but actually it depends on the dub. That's the other thing, because the original dub of Whispers of the Heart, they changed the opening song for the future ones, but the original English dub had a.
Did they have the Dylan version?
Oh, I don't think I've seen the English dub. I think.
So you wouldn't have caught
the dub does not have, to my knowledge, the dub does not have the John Dylan version of Country Roads, which is the original.
John Denver. Well, John Denver. Again, no, it doesn't have John Denver. The version I saw starts with Olivia Newton-John's cover.
Yeah. There was a different cover of it also on the original English.
I think the one on English is Olivia Newton-John's version.
Right.
It's also kind of weird how Kiki's is another example.
That one is not in the original. The song "I Want to Fly" that was,
and it's not in any of the subsequent releases. You have to go with the old dub. You have to get an old version of it to get that original soundtrack.
So
Yeah,
to
that's
this one, there was a weirdness with this one, and I think it was the song "Taking Off" that's listed here. Okay, no, wait, sorry. The Anime News Network says the ending theme is called "The Galaxy Express 39" by Go Diego.
Yeah.
And then, so when it was playing, and I don't know if anyone else had this encounter with their version. So I'm watching it. I've got the English translation at the bottom. Even though I'm watching the dub, I think I had like the closed captioning or something on.
I will say the original is on YouTube, but it's not subtitled or dubbed. It
Right.
is straight Japanese.
Right. So this version was not Japanese, or it was not straight Japanese. Like I don't think it was Japanese at all, but it definitely had large portions that were English. But whatever the case, this was really weird, and I don't understand this, and I don't know if anyone else saw this or could explain it.
I believe it was an add-on by Viz. I really do.
Well, okay. The chorus, the subtitles matched the lyrics of the chorus perfectly.
Mm.
The subtitles had fuck all to do with what was being sung in the verses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It made no sense, and I don't understand where that came from. I'm like,
at the time this got released, or this was released in America, like we said, at the late 90s. It's right when Ranma was coming out. It is dubbed by Ocean Group.
Okay.
Ocean Group's most famous dub is Sailor Moon, the original.
Oh, that famous, not
infamous in a lot of ways. But still a nostalgic one. I actually made sure that I got the entire original,
not for me,
physical release of Sailor Moon, so that I could keep that terrible dub track.
Well,
they've been
banned. They of course added their entire. The original Sailor Moon had that entire Americanized soundtrack that was written specifically for the American release.
There were some cool songs there. Pioneer,
absolutely,
Pioneer
songs were
did
cool.
a lot of those.
Actually, but it was the best. It was mainly there. It was mainly there so they could do montages and not show stuff that couldn't make it on American Air.
Wasn't Pioneer behind some of those?
No, Pioneer was behind its own added soundtrack, which is why there was a release of Pioneer music. When with Pioneer doing stuff, the Sailor Moon ones were separate. They were the dubbing and the song, I think, would have gone through Ocean and be done through DIC at the time, which was a Canadian production. And then it went over to Clover, whatever, and that's when you got the butchering of the relationship of Uranus and Neptune.
I thought it was actually, I love the way they did that, because they basically said, well, can't have them being gay, so we'll make them cousins, but we'll not change it around enough to make it not look like they're in a relationship.
Well, they showed Sailor Moon in the bathtub top. You could see her top off there.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, there was no nipple, but I mean, you could show her naked, but you couldn't. You'd have kissing cousins.
Yeah.
I find that hilarious. That it made it actually creepier. I think they made it much creepier. Yeah. And then, of course, they wouldn't bring Starlights at all because so it's like, well, we can't figure out a creative way to make this worse than it already is for us. So we're just going to go with it.
Well, to be fair, I mean, Starlights, everybody does.
Well, I mean, to them, I think the issue that kept it from getting here was the fact that
it was the gender bending. Yes, it was 100% the gender bending.
But I mean, then
Yeah.
of course you had Ranma that actually released here fine. So I think that's kind of weird.
Yeah, but Rama didn't make it to television.
Yeah.
There's no way, even today, Rama cannot air on television fully.
Well,
It
I
can
mean,
air on streaming fine, but even then, we can see how much what they did, horrible atrocity they did with the remake versus the new one. While the remake does follow the manga better, and Brandon, you're getting your wish. You're getting the Rama and Juliet for the second season.
yeah, I know. I saw the. Well, actually, I shared the Turn to trailer.
Yeah. So I'm while
like,
they follow the manga, they absolutely butcher a lot of parts into it, and the main thing, to my dismay, is Rama never admits he is a girl, and they kind of tone down that nature and the remake versus the original.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be. It wouldn't be as well, I guess, received. But I mean, of course, then again, we look back into the '90s. I mean, good God, Tenchi was another example of that was the pioneer one of them creating their own soundtracks.
Yeah.
Also, saying, well, you know what, top nudity is okay, just remove the nipple.
Yeah, and that did technically make it to air.
Yes. So
that one did make it to Cartoon Network.
So the whole technique they used for Ranma, which was the exact same technique in the re-release for season 1, that's been done a long time ago.
Yeah, but the main problem with Ranma is Ranma runs around topless quite a lot.
Yeah, she does.
Right.
He does. So
right.
It's but yeah. Any case, any other thoughts on the music on this? As I said, I've listened to both. I saw this also in the original, and I've seen it.
Besides the added soundtracks, the music flows pretty well. I feel I don't hear anything out of sorts. On the soundtrack.
Definitely sounds like a soundtrack from the late 70s.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of. That's when you're starting to get electronic instruments come into play. I'm not talking like guitar. You're hearing a lot of like guitar and the keyboards come into play.
Well, with that being said, that's Galaxy Express 999. Maybe one day we'll cover Edu Galaxy Express 999. We won't be covering the third movie on my shift because I don't like that one. But as far as things go, though, I enjoyed it, and I thought it was a fun birthday pick. Sometimes it's great going on an adventure. It may not be as high key and high octane as some, but it is a general fun adventure to be had. So let's go into favorites. I guess let's go. Of course, favorite scene. Everybody likes the favorite scene, but and let's say, what is your favorite classic anime? Which is I'll say for classic, any anime that would have been airing during your childhood time period. You don't have to have seen it during childhood, but one that would have been airing during.
Where's the cutoff in childhood?
So I guess for myself, you and Jake, which are all on somewhere, give or take, like just a couple of years.
I'm a year older than you.
I would go from like let's just say 82, or let's just say 80 to 95. And for Dave, I would say probably 90 to 2000, because I would say that would be about fair. Because I don't think you were that old in the 80s, were you, Dave?
Well, I know Lily Cat is pretty old.
We'll just leave you with the 90s then, the 90s and early 2000s.
Okay.
So we'll start with you, Jake. What's your favorite scene and a favorite anime coming out during your childhood time period?
Truth be told, I'm not sure that I have too many scenes that really jump out at me. If I had to pick one, it might be where after everyone gives the kids such shit over ordering milk, and then Captain Harlock comes in and orders milk, and I just thought that was pretty funny. I was like, yeah, y'all want to try that against him now? You know?
Well, they did try it. It wasn't very successful.
Right. I thought that was pretty good. And there were a couple other good little moments, but I'll go with that. Now, are you talking anime series, or are you just talking anime generally, or what?
Animation generally.
We'll say animation in general, but it has to be a series. We'll not do a movie this time.
Okay. Because if we're really talking, and we're talking animation or anime?
Animation. Though if you have an anime, that would probably be preferable.
Because if we're talking animation from our childhood, like that's legitimately from our childhood, then absolutely the key ones for me were probably Transformers and Ninja Turtles. I mean, those were probably the big ones. And then, of course,
both have a relationship to Japan, especially Transformers.
Right. Transformers had a pretty close one. And actually, I guess depending on where you draw the line of what is anime and what's not, it would be one of the first two introductions I had, the other being Superbook, but I didn't know of either of them as an anime. That was
I know about Superbook way too much.
But
I'm not gonna say it's my favorite in childhood, but I remember that one vividly.
I remember it too. But I mean, again, like the concept of anime is something that I did not have until the 90s. So that, and if we're talking like favorite animations from the part that we could call our childhood, that were legitimately part of my childhood, it'd probably have to be Batman the animated series and the X-Men animated series. I mean, those were absolutely classic big things from my childhood. But if I'm going to pick an anime from that time period, my favorite anime is still Maison Ikkoku, and that definitely qualifies. So
yeah.
Well,
how about you, Brittany?
Well, favorite scene. I always like a good introduction of a good villain. So I'm gonna have to go with the opening. Because boy, do I hate that guy from that moment.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they make it even easier to hate him when you see it later, where they actually did see that she stuffed him up on the mantelpiece.
So having a villain introduced to make you really hate him from the moment forward. I gotta give mad credit to that. So that's my favorite scene. Animation of that period. Good Lord. There have been a lot, and I'm trying to think of what my favorite would be from that period. And that is more challenging than I can honestly say. I would have to probably go with watching it as a child. I would say maybe Transformers over G.I. Joe. The two were made by the same studio,
right?
So I feel Transformers always is a little bit above G.I. Joe. Mm-hmm. If I were talking about anime in general, I always have a soft spot for Ghost in the Shell. And that one came out right in my late teen years. So yeah, it's if you haven't watched The original. Do not watch the movie made with what was it, Angelina Jolie or who was it? Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson.
It was okay, but
it's okay, but it is
it's not the same.
It's not the original. Watch the original. It is by far a classic of animation in general.
Although I actually prefer standalone complex to the movies, but
Well, yeah,
but that's not in my childhood, Jacob. I can't.
Right.
So,
Ghost in the Shell was part of my introduction to anime as a concept, that and Ninja Scroll, and that's one of the reasons why it took me a few years to become an anime fan. Mostly Ninja Scroll more than Ghost in the Shell.
When I took a film class in the history of art, modern art at that period, I and the instructor would gush about Ghost in the Shell because how beautiful that film is. Yeah, we would nod to Akira, but we both kind of felt Ghost in the Shell had it above Akira.
Yeah,
I felt like Ghost in the Shell had it above Akira when it came to animation. As far as story, I liked Akira better story-wise.
There's a reason why the second Ghost in the Shell was the first anime to screen at Cannes.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
that was unfortunate too.
Yeah,
it was because the second Ghost in the Shell it's not even comparable to the third one.
Right. I also want to make a quick shout out. I've mentioned before on the movie channel, and I think I've mentioned on this channel, but on the issue of important animation in my childhood, I was talking about Transformers as a series, but again, the movie was the first movie I saw in theaters, so it's always going to have a soft spot in my heart for that.
I think the first, I probably watched Star Wars as the first in the theaters, but I think the first animated film I can recall was the first Chipmunks film.
Oh yeah, Alvin and the Chipmunks was also a part of my childhood. And Garfield and
Smurfs,
Captain Planet.
A lot of what people see come out today in films was kids' animation in the 80s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For all you youngsters out there, Michael Bay did not start the Transformers.
No.
It started back in Hanna-Barbera era with Autobots.
Well, no. What? You mean Michael Bay didn't create Transformers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
No.
Most Hanna-Barbera was actually even before our time, but at least the old school stuff. But
hey, they were alive while we were children.
I definitely grew up with Scooby-Doo. That was
there was a ton of Scooby-Doo, and we can say, as children from the 70s to 80s for most of us, Scooby-Doo was pinnacle as a child.
Scooby-Doo!
It is one of the best theme songs.
And the Cartoon Express.
Yes.
Well, Dave, favorite scene and favorite childhood animation / anime.
Okay. Favorite scene is when both Kid Robot and Captain Harlock both got milks at the bar. For some reason, that just is comical to me, just a little bit. But it's memorable.
Of course,
I'm sure I could. I'm sure I could go with more than that, and probably the fact that Harlock actually warned the kid, don't trust me, don't trust her. So to me, at least right now, those are the scenes from that. Now, what are we talking here? Are we talking both animation and anime?
Yes.
It can be either or.
Okay. Heck, I had a lot from. Childhood. I caught a little bit of the Transformers, but I was more of a Beast Wars
Well, yeah, because your childhood falls a little bit further along than ours.
Yeah.
So yours
I
kind
do
of
have
early
Transformers.
2000s.
I do have the Transformers, and I did get into the Autobots. So
I've been told I do Megatron from Beast Wars really well, and I've watched Beast Wars. I'm just kind of amazed that people tell me I can do that voice really well.
I ended up watching Beast Wars first on some guy who had made his PlayStation into his original PlayStation into a DVD player, he was able to modify whatever to. The PlayStation was not a DVD player.
To be fair, Beast Wars, in my opinion, is probably better than Transformers.
I still can't watch it because it just, to me, that CG I can't.
It was early days of CG animation in a show.
The
only thing that kind of beat it was Reboot.
That's like trying to say that you can't watch Hercules: The Legendary Journeys because that shit was fake as all hell.
or young Indiana
I'm sorry,
Jones.
but I'm sorry, but the CGI in both Hercules and Xena was just as hokey as the CGI in Beast Wars.
Absolutely.
But as far as anime series wise, Elven Lied was the first one I got into after liking Lily Cat and the finding out the Unico movies, because my mom used to put like random animations on VHS that she thought was cutesy, except she didn't realize that she had actually recorded Japanese animations.
I mean, most of us, we had an early anime introduction.
Yeah.
And as I've told mine several times, it was Flying House and it's the book Superbook. It was those two, and I was introduced to them at like age 5 in Sunday school, because that's what they couldn't be bothered to teach. They'd put that on.
And I'm just gonna throw this out there. My favorite hentai is Night Shift Nurses.
Man, that's definitely something that you watch as a kid.
Hey, I got into it as a kid, so
I cannot say that a child of your age, Dave, that wasn't unheard of.
Now, I'll admit, for a kid, Elfen Lied would be pretty exciting.
Elfen Lied's got a pretty nasty moments in there.
Yeah.
Although I've told people, if you watch the first 6 minutes of that show, you can make it through the whole show. It's not you got everything
at the beginning. So yeah. For me, it's an interesting thing. I always return to Mysterious Cities of Gold. I really loved it as a child, and actually when I came back to it, even modern times, I've enjoyed it. Especially when it's not like chop edited like it was back then. I also could say that as far as teenage years, I actually really enjoyed the Aiko series, which I watched first on Sci-Fi Channel. And of course, Sailor Moon when they were showing it on USA. I think Sailor Moon was probably the first actual anime that I watched that I kind of knew was an anime.
I do have to give credit to Sailor Moon. Everybody likes to say, "Oh, Dragon Ball was their introduction." Dragon Ball didn't really take off until Funimation got it, and it got onto Cartoon Network.
I see, most people didn't really. Most people who are younger got their introduction to anime through Toonami.
Yeah. But as someone who woke up at 5 a.m. and watched Sailor Moon from the get-go, it definitely fed into my anime love at that point.
Because I watched Sailor Moon in my teens, I know that much, and it was it couldn't have been more than like mid-90s.
I was 17, 18 when it came out.
So
Because I was in my senior year.
Yeah, let me just see here. Sorry. I, of course, did not see it when it came out. Not for many years later. But I was just double checking when 1 week came out. 1 week came out in 1998. So it was definitely a thing by then.
yeah.
Well, I will say what drove me to Sailor Moon was the fact that right before it aired, there was an article in all the newspapers complaining about, oh no, this is a girls show that has girls that put on makeup and go and fight. And I'm like, that sounds pretty cool.
Right.
I really enjoyed that one when I was younger, but then again, there were a lot of them. Like I had talked about Spartacus and the Sun Beneath the Sea, which nobody else knows about. It seems like the Little Prince,
Mm-hmm.
The Littles themselves.
the Littles,
Ariadne was based off of the Littles,
Yeah.
Which was all based off of the Bar Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of fun things. Of course, then there were always the Saturday morning cartoons like the Mr. T and Friends.
Well, I was going to say, as far as getting back to American ones, you got to shout out Darkwing Duck and DuckTales,
Yeah.
Disney Afternoon.
Yeah.
Anything in Disney Afternoon,
Yeah.
For a while.
Rescue
Actually, early Nicktoons was probably the last time that I would say that I watched a lot of Nickelodeon animation. And that peaked out at Rocko's Modern Life. After that, I was too old for it, and it didn't.
And then, as far as the Warner Brothers, in my late childhood, we had Tiny Toons and Animaniacs. Some good stuff there.
So you didn't watch SpongeBob when it came out, Brandon?
No, I was fully an adult when SpongeBob came out.
And I still watched it. It was actually a funny show.
I hate SpongeBob.
I haven't seen it.
You see, everybody that liked SpongeBob when I was that age when it came out were like 2 and 3 year olds. So I looked at that as sort of like how Power Rangers was.
If you were in the service industry and you watched SpongeBob, you'd be like, hell yes, that is exactly how my life goes.
Yeah.
Power Rangers was like that for me too, but Power Rangers missed me by just like 1 year.
Oh, I enjoyed the Power Rangers. That was good.
I enjoyed the Power Rangers, the original series, not
you enjoyed
not
the
the fake
series.
ass crap after it.
No, I would have enjoyed the original series, Super Sentai. I could deal with that.
Well, no, all right. So, where did you dislike Power Rangers, Dave? At what point did you dislike Power Rangers? Was it after the new team came, or the new teenagers came in, or after the first team ended?
After the first team ended, is when it got crappy for me. Anything afterwards.
The irony that Adam, who came in the second period to replace one of the cast members, is one of the most prolific voice actors we hear in anime these days. So if you hear a dub, you're probably going to hear his voice continuously. But you also had Barbara Goodson playing Rita Repulsa back then, who's in a lot of anime, was the voice of Ryoko from Tenchi Muyo.
The Power Rangers stuff, it does fascinate me to read about it and hear about it. But when it came out, it was sort of like with Pokemon.
Okay.
I was just like a year or two too old for it when it came out.
All right. I was into Pokemon simply because I was playing the games. That's the only reason I was into Pokemon.
I was getting out of video games around the time I was leaving early college. And I didn't get back.
You were leaving early college? It came out in 1996.
Well, as far as like... I'm trying to think because I wasn't into Game Boy at all. The original Game Boy I wasn't into at all. I didn't have one. I had a Game Gear. So
that's how I survived so many hours in between classes. Was a Game Boy.
So I didn't have the option for the game. So by the time I actually got a Game Boy in like 2001, I really didn't care about Pokemon at that point. Matter of fact, like I say, I kind of almost stopped playing video games for about 2000.
You still don't care about Pokemon. You don't play it, do you?
Nope. I got one of the more recent ones to see if I could try it again, but every time I try it, I just kind of get like bored.
Oh shit! Like the Mystic Knights of Tirnanog. I used to get into them. I used to get into Big Bad Beetleborgs.
All the Sentais that came over, even though Mass Rider had one season in America, even though it's one of the most popular in Japan.
Actually, I've got one that kind of gave off vibes of adventure like that. Pirates of Dark Water.
That was a really good a series that only had 13 episodes. It sucks that it only had 13. But I guess, having a bad guy ship that is a giant skeleton dragon ship kind of maybe made parents not too happy about it.
The whole concept of the dark water eating people, too, didn't help. But then again, those years were interesting. But I thought it would be kind of cool to throw out some animation from back in those days. But with that being said, thank you all for watching us and celebrating my birthday with me.
Definitely.
Of course, we have with us Dave, who I didn't get to introduce at the beginning because he wasn't here at the beginning, but he's from Outside Movies Galore and Delusions of Grandeur, some amazing stuff. And if you haven't checked out Monday's episode, we did a birthday episode for me then as well, which was Dogma. And that was a fun discussion. Not animated. But if you want animation, we did do Clerks as well. We did Clerks, the animated series. And Brittany was on for that.
Yeah.
But next week, we are starting into the Godfather series. So that's going to be fun. So you should check out Dave's channel.
Also not an animation.
What? That's what we needed a Godfather the animated series.
I'll bet if they did Godfather anime and did it right, people would be all about that.
Come on, you're telling me Marlon Brando actually acted?
You know what? That should have been the thing. That could have been a thing. An 80s kids animated series based off of The Godfather.
You just need an offer you can't refuse.
They made them based off of everything else, and actually, that was one of the probably more random ones from my childhood was the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. I used to love that.
That was enjoyable and funny sense, but RoboCop never made sense to me.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I could have seen that as an 80s. It wouldn't have surprised me if it was. Then we, of course, have Jake, who has been my co-host for the most part. We're going to try and pick a video next week, so you'll get to see us work together then. And then, of course, we have Brittany, who has her own channel, a lot of good streaming stuff, and, of course, a lot of cool projects out there. Do you have any projects that you want to throw out?
Well, there's two things I want to throw out. One, we did not stream last night, and that was simply because I had a power outage and nasty storms. So we were not able to be live. We're going to be doing that tomorrow night instead. So we're going to have a rare Drivel Draw live on Tuesday. At which point I will be talking about the other project that I'm going to be promoting, which was the final release of Love Potion Lament. It is important that people go and vote for it on Manga Draft, which is a French manga hosting site. It has English as well, because I did not write this comic in French. But go and vote for Love Potion Lament, the current contest for Clip Paint Studio. If you don't want to read it, you can read it there on Manga Draft, or you can read it on my DeviantArt page, or the Witchin page as well, which is Embryo Arts /Witchin, because it's a prequel to Witchin. So
all 10 of you who are watching this, actually, there's one of you watching it right now. So you heard it. Go there now. Don't just ignore us. Go there now.
Yeah.
Vote. Any case, thank you all for coming in. And Brittany, you have a birthday coming up soon.
Yeah.
So tell us, what series do you have us going for this time round?
Well, we're going to go from a very much a story about death to a story about love, as a young boy tries to get revenge on the girl who bullied him in Masamune's Revenge.
Okay. So, and where can we watch that?
Crunchyroll.
All right. So, with that being said, have a great evening, all, and we'll see you maybe at the end of this month, maybe the first week in August. You know how we roll.
Yeah.
All right. Get y'all later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
SeptumSin versus the world. It's that place for all the boys and girls. You'll feel real safe, you'll feel real warm. It's a cozy place to ride out the storm. SeptumSin. SeptumSin and his best boy Jake see the trends that scare us every day. Physical media is going to the side. Doctor streaming will rule the world in time.